Something shifted within you this morning. You may not have the exact words to describe it, and the world around you may look exactly the same as yesterday, but something deep down, in the part of you that holds your inner compass, simply turned. It's a sudden displacement, a perception that the landscape of your life is no longer the house you are meant to live in. You feel it. You feel as if you've been living in clothes that have become too tight, squeezing your shoulders, restricting your breath, limiting the movement you know, deep down, you are about to make. You came here because you heard the call of a new destiny. God has already signed your divine relocation. It's time to pack your bags. Right now, you are receiving a spiritual contract. By the end of our conversation, you will recognize the 3 clear signs that confirm your relocation has already been processed in the heavens. You will finally understand why the exhaustion you've been feeling isn't the result of laziness or a lack of faith, but rather the outcome of carrying baggage that is no longer yours to carry. And, before we conclude, I will give you the key to the divine signature that seals your new chapter. You didn't arrive here by chance. You arrived by summons. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal is the framework of your next season of life. The symptoms you've been experiencing are physical proof of an invisible movement. First, there's this constant feeling of displacement, as if you're in an environment you don't recognize, even though you're in the place you've always lived. The conversations that once made sense now sound like echoes of something that has already ended. Second, you feel an exhaustion that doesn't go away with ordinary rest. It's a soul-deep fatigue, an internal resistance that appears every time you try to force your old pace of life to sustain itself. Third, the cycle of people, projects, and even thoughts that defined who you were up until the 10th of June has begun to dissolve. They aren't just going away, they are being removed to make space. Your fingers typing these 3 digits are your spirit saying yes to the abundance of what is to come. It's the small, yet profound act of agreement with the new that God has already established for you. Type 888 and then come straight back to me. What you've been living, this strange pressure in your chest, is the side effect of trying to remain in a structure that has already been deactivated in the spiritual realm. You have been operating under the belief that your faithfulness is measured by how much you insist on what no longer opens. You have applied your effort, your sweat, and your tears to try and keep closed the doors you are no longer meant to walk through. You have mistaken your perseverance for your mission without realizing that your mission now is to move toward the door that is already unlocked. The pattern is this. You are trying to build a palace on the foundation of a tent that needs to be taken down. This exhaustion you feel isn't a lack of capability. It's the sign that your spirit is already ready for the next level, but your mind, attached to what you already know, is struggling to hold the ropes of a past that can no longer support your weight. You are not failing. You are just trying to stay in a place where your presence is no longer needed, because your new destiny requires you to be somewhere else. You have grown weary from trying to be faithful to a cycle the Creator Himself has already closed. Your relocation is not about what you must abandon, but about what you need to stop sustaining so that your new, your true, can finally manifest in your reality. What you are carrying, all this load of old expectations, inherited fears, and self-imposed obligations, will not fit through the door of your new life. It is too heavy for the path that is opening. And the most important thing of all is that this change, this relocation, does not require you to build the map. It only requires you to accept the invitation and begin walking in the direction of the promise that was sealed even before you asked. Imagine now that your current life is an old house, a structure that served you faithfully for years. It protected you from storms, sheltered your dreams when they were still small, and held the memory of who you were during the learning process. But if you are honest with yourself, you will feel that the rooms have become too narrow for the size of the spirit that inhabits you today. The walls seem to breathe a frequency that no longer tunes in with the expansion happening in your soul. You try to hang new pictures, you try to paint the walls with vibrant colors, you try to rearrange the furniture to make everything seem new, but the foundation is what matters. And the foundation of this house, as dear as it may be, was not designed to support the structure your divine relocation now demands. You feel like someone trying to live in a place where the ceiling has lowered so much that, to move, you must stoop, and you were not made to walk bent over. Detachment at this moment is not a loss of possessions or history. It is permission for you to finally stand up straight at the full height your calling requires. Detachment is the act of removing your hands from the doorknobs of the old house so that you can, with empty and ready hands, turn the key that is already in the door of your new dwelling. Allow this declaration to seal the recognition in the exact place where it has just landed in your consciousness. The act of typing these 3 words makes your readiness a permanent record in your own journey. Type "I am ready" and then come straight back to me. Often the fear you feel about moving comes from the illusion that if you leave the old house, you will be left homeless. But the truth being revealed here is that the Creator is not asking you to step out into a void. Your relocation is a guided movement, a transport from the place of survival to the place of purpose. The fear of losing what you know is in truth the fear of losing control over a routine that no longer generates life. But look at your own history. How many times have you feared the end of something, and when the end came, realized it was actually the necessary protection to keep you from rotting in a place that no longer had provision for you? The divine sovereignty over your trajectory is absolute. The one who signed your relocation is the same one who has already prepared every detail of the path between where you are now and where you are meant to be. It is not a leap in the dark. It is a step into the light, where the ground appears exactly where you place your foot. You are not being taken from where you like. You are being taken to where you belong. If this recognition has confirmed what your spirit has been whispering in the quiet hours, allow your like to be your wordless amen. Not as a social media metric, but as a deep agreement that what has been named here is the truth of your current moment. It is your silent seal that you accept the transition being operated within you. For this change to solidify in your daily routine, I invite you to practice the morning sealing. Upon waking, before you place your feet on the floor, put your hand over your heart and take a deep breath, recognizing that you are not the same person who lay down the night before. Say to yourself, "My relocation has begun, and I receive direction for my day." Do not ask for changes in the old house. Ask for eyes to see the new doors that were opened this morning. This anchoring practice will serve to keep your nervous system at peace, even when the world around you insists on keeping you stuck in what no longer serves. You are learning to inhabit a new frequency, and the constancy of this small gesture of surrender every single day will align your biology with your destiny. You will notice that little by little, the resistance you felt in the morning will be replaced by a serene curiosity, an appetite to discover what the relocation has to show you today. It is an exercise of stewardship, of managing the grace that has already been delivered to you. You do not build the change. You merely learn to move within it with the lightness of one who knows that, finally, you are exactly where you should be, walking toward the place where your mission will become as natural as your breath. What is new does not demand more of your effort, but your attentive presence. There is someone in your life who needs to hear this call right now. Perhaps it is that person you've been observing, someone carrying a weariness that doesn't seem to come from the body, but from a spirit that feels it is in a place that no longer fits. It is that someone who works with a quiet dedication, moving mountains while everyone around them remains still, and who, even while giving so much, feels that the doors of their own life remain strangely locked. That face that appeared in your mind while I was speaking is not a coincidence. It is an invitation to ministry. You are saying, without needing complex terms, that you see them, that you recognize their effort, and that the relocation they have long awaited is not something they need to invent, but something that has already been signed and prepared. Sending this is your act of care, a gesture from one who understands that when one of us awakens to the truth of our own relocation, the echo of it reaches those walking beside us. Do not think of this as a social gesture. Think of it as a spiritual delivery service. There is a sacred purpose in being the channel that carries confirmation to someone who no longer has the strength to seek it alone. Before this moment of our connection is complete, I ask you to do something that establishes your new posture in the world. Do not do this as a request or as a distant wish. Do it as a record, a deed you sign with your own hand. What we are living here is not a passing conversation, but a landmark. By typing these words, you are declaring that you accept the place to which you are being led, and that you understand your relocation is not about what you leave behind, but about what has finally been opened before you. Every letter your fingers form is one more step toward your new frequency. Feel the gravity of this affirmation. You are no longer operating from the effort of the flesh, but from the authority of one who understands their own position. Something within you, at this very moment, knows that the scenery around you no longer matches the depth of your soul. You feel the discomfort that precedes departure, the nausea of one who needs to leave an environment where the light no longer enters in the same way. It is not haste, it is not rebellion, and it is certainly not passing dissatisfaction. It is the silent obedience to a voice that has already given the marching orders. You have noticed that the cycles that once brought you security have now become mere walls, narrowing your field of vision and limiting your breath. It is as if your life is, gradually, being unlatched from a structure that has fulfilled its purpose. The weariness you feel does not come from work, but from the insistence on keeping standing, something the heavens have already decided must be transformed. If your heart recognizes this beat, if the clarity of this diagnosis has caused a deep silence in your mind, know that this is not a coincidence, but an awakening. This number is the frequency of abundance that manifests after the completion of a cycle, the key that opens the door of transition. By typing 888, you are not just leaving a record, you are affirming to your own spirit that the time for hesitation is over. Type these 3 numbers now, and immediately after, return your attention entirely to me. The pattern that has governed your journey until now is one of forced permanence. You were taught to believe that virtue lies in staying, in resisting, in enduring what no longer has life. We have believed for too long that our worth is measured by our ability to carry burdens that were not designed for our shoulders. But the truth revealed beneath the surface is that you have been trying to blossom in soil that was exhausted by the winters you yourself faced to protect others. You have operated for years as the pillar of structures that were never intended for your growth. Your struggle against what no longer belongs to you is the greatest drain on your vitality. You insist on opening doors that were locked by destiny, not as a punishment, but as a protection against straying. Imagine now the house in which you lived all through your formation. It is a familiar structure, with every piece of furniture placed exactly where you learned to find it. You know every creak of the floorboards and every shadow cast on the walls at dusk. Yet as much as this place has been your shelter, it has become too small for the wingspan of what you have become. Your internal growth has stretched the walls of this house to the point where you feel the ceiling is about to give way. There is nothing wrong with the house, but everything is new with you. Detachment at this moment is not an act of rejection of the past, but an act of honor to your future. It is impossible to accommodate a new level of clarity within a space that demands you shrink to fit. This short phrase is your declaration of surrender to the new. The act of typing these words imprints upon you the acceptance that your place is no longer where you began, but where you will be placed. Type "I am ready" and return immediately to the center of our connection. Many fear relocation because they associate change with loss, but divine sovereignty, which governs every step of your walk, does not know scarcity. What you call loss is merely the discarding of what no longer serves the new frequency. It is the clearing of the land so the final construction can be raised without the hindrances of what has become obsolete. You are not being left helpless. You are being positioned. The fear you feel is merely the ego's reaction to the unknown, but your spirit, the one that recognizes the truth of these words, is already celebrating the change. Let that fear dissolve, for it has no authority over your route. Observe your own reaction to what I'm telling you. If confirmation has come to you with the force of a wind that clears the dust from a mirror, allow your like to be your wordless amen. Do not seek metrics or justifications, simply record your agreement. Let this gesture be an invisible signature between you and the truth that has just been named. It is a simple gesture, a movement that needs no fanfare, but that seals what has been understood in the most secret place of your being. For you to remain anchored in this new frequency, I recommend the practice of morning sealing. Before any conversation, before any task or demand, sit for a few minutes and visualize your life as a table where order has been restored. Ask for nothing. Just breathe and declare internally that you are positioned. Morning sealing is the exercise of recognizing that your day is not a battle to be won, but an unfolding of what has already been signed and prepared for you. When you begin the day from the security of your relocation, the demands of the world around you lose their power to destabilize you. You begin to observe things with the calm of one who knows that your home is not the world, but the presence you inhabit. There is a person who came to your mind while I was speaking, someone you know well, someone who has been working exhaustively without reaping the fruits of their effort, someone whose soul seems to be crying for help through an ever-deepening silence. That person is carrying the same burden you carried until you discovered this truth. Their face appeared in your thoughts as a summons. Send this message to them. Do it with the certainty of one who delivers a key. You are not just sharing a video. You are delivering a set of return coordinates for someone who has gotten lost on their own journey. Be the channel, the bridge, the messenger who carries the confirmation they do not have the strength to seek alone. It is a gesture of care, of ministry, from one who understands that relocation is a collective movement of awakening. What you feel now is not a coincidence, nor a fantasy of your tired imagination. It is the answer to a process that began on the 10th of June, when the invisible movement of your trajectory reached the inflection point necessary for the relocation to finally be signed. You have felt this pull, this urgency, to organize what is essential and leave behind what has become mere dead weight. And this is the clear evidence that your time in that place, in that role, or in that specific emotional dynamic has come to an end. The spiritual suitcases you are being called to pack are not for a physical trip to a destination on a map, but for a change of state, a leveling up, where the demands that once consumed you simply no longer have room to exist. If right now, as you listen to these words, something within you recognizes the truth of this transition, if your soul signals that the waiting time is over and that relocation is your next step, type the phrase "I am ready" below. Your writing is your signature, a commitment made between your consciousness and the plan already drawn. By depositing these 4 words, you are not just sending a message, you are anchoring your readiness in the field of manifestation, making it clear that you will not resist the call to the new. Do this now, without hesitating, and return immediately to where we are building this clarity. Your resistance up to this point came from the confusion between what you needed to do and what you were trying to force. You tried to open doors that were already locked as a matter of purpose, not for lack of effort. The pattern you lived, of doubling your effort and harvesting half of what you expected, was, in fact, divine protection, preventing you from settling in soil that was no longer fertile for your current harvest. Understanding this is the key that unlocks your relocation. You did not fail. You were not insufficient. You were merely operating under a contract that had already expired, while the new one awaited your consent to be activated. Now the horizon widens because your vision has stopped focusing on the limitations of the old house where you sheltered for years. That house, with its cramped rooms and its hallways that lead to places you no longer belong, served its purpose in the past. But now it is merely a roof that prevents you from seeing the vastness of the sky promised to you. Divine relocation is not about changing places. It is about changing dimensions. It is allowing your being to stretch to occupy the true size of your vocation, leaving behind the fear of being left helpless. What you have left behind, or what you are about to abandon, is not a loss, but a liberation from a space that had already become too small for the life you carry. Feel that lightness beginning to rise at the base of your spine, that sensation that for the first time in a long while, you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. What comes next is the manifestation of the authority you've always had, but kept hidden because you believed you first had to prove your worth to receive permission to move forward. The permission has already been granted, and the decree has already been signed. You no longer need to beg for opportunities, nor plead for recognition. You are being positioned in a place where your worth will be the ground beneath you, and your peace will be the constant fruit. Before this revelation fully settles in your mind, take your place in the order of things. Type, with the certainty of someone claiming an inheritance, the phrase, "I am the chosen one." It is not a request, not a plea. It is the recognition of your identity before the unfolding plan. Let these 4 words act as the final seal upon your readiness to inhabit the new territory. When you type them, you plant your foot firmly in the place reserved for you. There is someone in your life who needs to hear these words exactly today. That person who has been working harder than anyone else, whose hands are calloused from constant effort, yet who still watches doors remain shut. That person who carries a deep silence, a restlessness that no one around them can explain, and whose eyes search for a sign that the path will finally open. That person's face just came to your mind, not by chance, but by a summons. Send this content to them, not as a casual suggestion, nor as a simple recommendation, but as a delivery, a ministry. What reached you by pure divine appointment must keep flowing, reaching those still waiting in the antechamber of their own lives, needing the comfort of knowing their relocation has already been authorized. If anything in this message confirmed what your spirit already recognized deep down, let your like be your wordless amen. Do not do it as someone following a number on a screen, but as someone sealing a sacred agreement that the truth declared here has been felt in the place where the soul rests. To anchor this frequency definitively into your routine, practice the morning sealing. Upon waking, before you even touch your device or allow the world's demands to reach your peace, sit in silence for just 2 minutes. Visualize the door of your old house closing gently, not with a slam, but with the quiet of a cycle completed. Imagine you carry only the essentials, your essence, your faith, and the readiness for what God has already signed. Breathe this new reality in, as if the air you inhale is the very authorization to occupy your new territory. This practice is not an exercise. It is an anchoring. It is the daily reaffirmation that you are ready for what has been prepared. You are committed to the truth that now begins to dictate the rhythm of your existence. You are commissioned to live from this new frequency of abundance, courage, and clarity. You are sent to occupy the space that is rightfully yours, without asking for permission and without apologizing for the brilliance that now emanates from you. Right now, in every corner of the world, others are being awakened by the same call, feeling the same urgency to set their house in order and move toward the new. You are not making this move alone. You are part of a silent and powerful awakening that is changing the face of your reality.